We've made it 1 year penalty for inciting riots. We took the freedom of speech away because that's been through the courts, and the court said you have freedom of speech. But what has happened is when they burn a flag, it agitates and irritates crowds. They've never seen anything like it on both sides, and you end up with riots. So we're going on that basis. We're looking at it not from the freedom of speech, which I always felt strongly about, but never passed the courts. This is what they do: is they incite. When you burn an American flag, you incite tremendous violence. We have many examples of it, many examples of it, and it's actually down on tape. And you see things happen that just don't happen unless it's the flag that's burning.
Okay, you can watch that clip from 2 days ago and you can either be really scared by it or, like me, you could just laugh at it. Now, we know that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and God knows Stephen Miller would love nothing better than to take away your constitutional right to free speech. And I know that news outlets like MSNBC were trying to frame this as like Donald Trump had frightening candor about his desire to take away free speech. I think it's more a statement of his cognitive decline, right? The fact that he is increasing in incoherency and that you see things come out of his mouth that do far more to sabotage the regime than they do scare people. And as he went on in that clip, he did get more and more rambly and incoherent. And if you're tempted to say like, oh, Trump has always been prone to word salad, no, go back and watch some clips of him from even before the election, but then go back to 2020, right? That contrast is stark. I know that his cognitive decline has been very normalized for us because we're forced to just constantly view clips of him. And so it can be difficult for us to see how pronounced the change is. Step back a couple years and watch. And, earlier this week, he had to go get a second annual physical within 6 months. And I do think it's very telling how hard he defended his cognitive capabilities after that. He said that he had a perfect score on his cognitive tests. If that's not a cope, I don't fucking know what is. And of course, we know that his doctor will say whatever, but I call absolute bullshit that he has perfect cognitive health and no signs of cognitive impairment. But let's get back to this flag burning thing, right? Because I know a lot of people were really freaked out about it. A lot of people want to say, like, this is the normalization of fascist rhetoric, and they're saying the quiet parts out loud. Y'all, back in August, Donald Trump put out this decree that you couldn't burn the American flag. He got a little bee in his bonnet about it, right, when we had our veterans protesting in Washington, D.C., right, I believe it was August 25th, he put out an executive order, and I just would like to remind everybody for the bazillionth time, an executive order is not a law. But he put out this executive order where he tried to claim that if you burn the American flag, you'll be put in prison for 1 year. He reiterated that claim on October 3rd on his failing social media platform, Truth Social, where he said, to ICE, Border Patrol, law enforcement, and all U.S. military, as per my August 25th, 2025 EO, please be advised that from this point forward, anybody burning the flag will be subject to 1 year in prison. You will be immediately arrested. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So something that I see people still continually fail to understand about how authoritarians or would-be authoritarians operate. They do something they know is illegal. They claim a power they do not have, and then they watch how you respond. This is why I'm always saying it is not so much what the regime does that matters, it is very much how we respond. Right? They know what they're doing is illegal. They are trying to move the needle. They are trying to normalize fascist behavior in this country. They are trying to normalize extreme power and the revocation of your rights. So they're going to try and do something illegal, and then they wait to see if the American people push back. They wait to see how we respond. And if we don't freak the fuck out, right? If we don't turn out in big numbers, if we don't all immediately call our elected officials, if we don't put tremendous public pressure, they're like, okay, cool, we can get away with this now. They are too scared to stop us when we do this bad illegal thing. And now that's normal. Now this is a thing we can do whenever we want because we know that they won't try and stop us. That is how authoritarians operate. That's how they creep forward. That's why they call it authoritarian creep. Once they have taken away one of your rights, once they do an illegal thing and see that they don't get any pushback, right? They step forward on your rights and you don't push them back. Then they're like, okay, now the needle is here. Normal is now here. We are now allowed to do this thing, and let's try something else. Let's try and take away another right. Let's try and move our authoritarian agenda forward. And one of the ways Trump does this frequently is he will barf up shit on Truth Social and see if you freak out and accept it as like, oh my God, Trump gets to do this. Now, just because he says something or puts it in an executive order or he rambles about it in a press conference, that does not mean that he has the right to do that thing. And the way that you defend your rights is you continue to exercise them. So back in August, immediately after Donald Trump put out this executive order saying it was now illegal to burn the flag and you would get 1 year in prison for it, an Army veteran named Jan Carey came out in Washington, D.C., and he set an American flag on fire. He said, basically, fuck you. I will not accept this trampling of our constitutional right to burn the flag as the new normal. The way that you defend your rights is you exercise them. So he came out, he set the flag on fire. He was immediately arrested. Not by the National Guard. I initially saw some stories that were trying to claim the National Guard arrested him. No, they had the park police come and do it. Kerry was not charged under Donald Trump's new executive order because it's not a fucking law. And because in 1989, the United States Supreme Court in Texas v. Johnson upheld your right to burn the flag. The court ruled you cannot enact bans on flag burning by calling it desecration because burning the flag is a form of symbolic speech that is protected under the First Amendment. Now, Kerry, again, who is an Army veteran, was charged with 2 misdemeanors. Because ain't no fucking grand jury gonna indict him on any felonies. He was charged with 2 misdemeanors that had nothing to do with the act of burning the flag. Because he was in a park, he was charged with igniting a fire in an undesignated area and lighting a fire that caused damage to park property. Now you can go watch the video. I did a whole video talking about that incident. I would love to see where park property was damaged. Now, it was Fox News host turned U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro who filed these 2 misdemeanor charges against Kerry. Now, Kerry, who served in the Army from 1989 to 2012 and was deployed in both Iraq and Afghanistan, said of this incident, "I served this country for over 20 years. Having taken an oath to uphold our Constitution, I did not take an oath to serve a dictator, a tyrant, or a wannabe king." I'm going to talk more this evening and tomorrow on my main TikTok channel, and I'll put it on YouTube, about civil disobedience. But what you saw here from Kerry was an intentional act of civil disobedience. He knew he could get arrested. He knew he could be charged with misdemeanors. This was about his desire to exercise his protected speech through flag burning and to refuse to let Donald Trump's executive order be normalized in this country. That man's a fucking hero, right? This is what it looks like to be a patriotic American in 2025. It is to continue to exercise your rights. So I just want to remind folks that when Donald Trump says shit like this, we should neither ignore it nor should we presume that that is now the new normal. That is now the law of the land. We have to be savvy enough to understand that he's going to say all kinds of addled, illegal, nonsensical shit. Either because he's got the dwindles or because this is something that Stephen Miller has put in his ear. But either way, the appropriate response is that we must continue to exercise our rights. Stop believing that when Donald Trump says something, that is gospel truth or it's accurate or you're going to allow it to be normalized. We cannot allow it to be normalized. I also want to point out here that in his Truth Social barf that he made on October 3rd, where he directed his post to the military as well as ICE and other law enforcement. He directed the military to immediately arrest American civilians if they are burning the flag. That's a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. The United States military cannot engage in law enforcement operations against American citizens, and they know that. They know that. We all get to become experts on civics very quickly. We all have to know our rights inside and out. Because if you do not know your rights, you cannot defend them. It is still legal to burn the flag in the United States. It is still legal to express your First Amendment free speech rights. The best way you can defend those rights is to continue to exercise them. They are trying to do what is called chill dissent. They are trying to make you so scared to exercise your rights that you stop, and then they can say those rights no longer exist. This is why we will all be turning out in the largest day of protest in the history of the United States on October 18th for No Kings, because they're not taking away our right to free speech.